guys, it's Ahmer here. So today I wanted to talk about my 5 favorite vintage video game jackets that I have in my collection. Now these all range from the early 80s throughout the 90s, so let's go ahead and check them out. So up first we have this pretty sweet Atari style jacket. Now this is actually really awesome, and this is probably the oldest jacket that I have in my collection. So this, you may recognize this Wizard Video Games is sounding pretty familiar. Well, back in the 80s, Wizard Video, who made Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they actually made some Atari games back for the system. Now, of course, these games did not do as well as the movies because back then, video games were marketed towards children, and of course, with the violent tendencies and nature of both of these games, they were often pulled from shelves or pulled from the store entirely, and they were placed behind some of the counters, so you would have to specifically ask for these games. So if you didn't know about them, you probably wouldn't ask the person behind the counter. So this is a pretty awesome promotional jacket for this company and for those games. Now those games are pretty rare and sought after among collectors. So of course, when I played the ones that I have, they are just insane video games. In Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you run around as Leatherface and you actually have to kill the people who trespass in your yard. And they actually look like children, so I can see why that was a pretty bad idea at the time. And then of course we all know in Halloween you have to play as the babysitter and you have to save the children from Michael Myers. So that is just crazy because you don't want to get killed, and those are just such violent games. So the second that I saw this promotional jacket, I fell in love with it. I love this back art right here where it says Wizard Video Games. It even says got a spare quarter, and I just love this jacket. I could see this being used in the arcades back in the day, just as a pretty awesome promotional piece. And this definitely has that 80s feel to it. So of course we have buttons and zippers and just everything else on this jacket. So of course we have this patch right here, and I actually got a custom Ahmer patch that I can put on this jacket. And then we have a couple zippers, there's some button pockets, some more zipper pockets. We have this large zipper, and the best part is that the sleeves can actually zip off and you can have this really awesome vest. So if you're getting hot while playing those arcade games, you can just unzip the sleeves and now you have this pretty awesome and stylish vest that you can use while playing these games. So this is definitely a really great piece, and this is such a great piece of history right here. I am just so glad to have it in my collection. So next up, we move on to this pretty awesome arcade style jacket. Of course, we have PAC MAN. So I've seen quite a few others like this. There was rumored to be around 1,000 of these jackets made, and this was to help promote the PAC MAN arcade that came out on May 22nd, 1980. So this jacket is just so awesome. We have tons of leather. We have these button-ups right here. So this is just a really awesome style jacket. I actually found this not far from me, and I got it for only $20, which I've seen these go for quite a few $100s on eBay. So this is a really thick and good quality jacket. The sleeves are all leather, and they're not actually torn or ripped up like I've seen some jackets. And it has this really cool PAC MAN arcade style logo right on the front there. There's actually nothing on the back, it's just all black. So this is a Burke's Bay jacket. So this is actually a very high quality jacket, and this is definitely a pretty awesome piece in the collection. I really like these leather style jackets and these thick varsity style jackets, as they are made very well, they're very comfortable, and they just look great in the collection. So this is another piece of history, and I'm glad that I found one for such a great deal. And then of course, with that same concept of the leather sleeves and this button-up style jacket, we move on to this really cool Sega jacket. So this I actually got from a buddy of mine, and he was in contact with one of the Sega executive employees at the time when, of course, all of these awesome Sega games were made. So I scored quite a few of these in my collection. One is a Dreamcast pullover, but this one is so cool. It says Sega with the logo right here, and she was actually in charge of making a lot of these promotional apparel items back during that time of the Genesis all the way through the Dreamcast era. So a lot of these items that my buddy scored are from her own personal collection, and of course the ones that did not fit him, he sold to me. So I got a couple of these for some great deals, and this one is by far my favorite as it has these awesome leather sleeves. It's in very good shape, as I've seen a lot of these style jackets have all kinds of issues where things are peeling off and flaking off over time, because it's pretty hard to take care of these if you're wearing them all the time. So this is really cool, and I've seen some of these have the Sega logo on the front with a specific game on the back. Now, of course, she may have designed this one for herself and then several others to help promote certain games at that time. This one you could wear throughout the entire campaign, and it's pretty cool because it's also outlined right here on the pockets, just as the PAC MAN jacket was, and this varsity style is really cool. So this says JSR Industries Incorporated, Los Angeles, California. And then we move on to some Nintendo items that are some of my favorites. So here we actually have this really awesome Nintendo jacket. So this is a jean style jacket. So this is definitely pretty sweet, as it has this pretty awesome 90s feel to it, as a lot of those jean jackets were very common and in style at that time. So this one actually has a different spin on it. So here we have this black jean jacket style in the middle, and then of course the sleeves are purple. Now this one I actually got from eBay, and I have seen quite a few others, but of course the ones that I've seen are very faded, and it looks like they've been washed several times. So this has this very colorful Nintendo embroidered stitch work right on the front here. It has these pretty sweet buttons that say International Denim, and this says International Denim on the inside. It says America's Choice, and this is a part of the Play It Loud campaign that Nintendo actually put on from 1994 to 1996 in order to compete with the Sega Genesis. As many of you guys know, the Super Nintendo was rivaling the Sega Genesis back in the day, and you'll also know that Nintendo turned more into that family-friendly console as opposed to the Genesis, which kind of had that more rugged and tough feel to it. So this campaign, the Play It Loud campaign, featured tons of crazy and wacky commercials where they tried to appeal to that punk rock style and often teenagers and more so adults. So they were definitely trying to compete with the Sega Genesis, as some of my favorite games you'll also remember. Mortal Kombat on the Sega Genesis was the way to play because it had that blood, as opposed to the Nintendo version, which actually only had sweat. So of course you wanted to play on that crazier console. So in this Play It Loud campaign, they often used this graffiti style that was loud, it was in your face, and this is a great promotional jacket for that time frame. And of course, they even revamped some of their systems, like the original Game Boy. Of course, we knew we had that white/gray style color. Well, they revamped it with this Play It Loud campaign. Of course, they made tons of crazy colors. They added the reds, the blues, the greens, the yellows, and they used these punk rock style people with that crazy color hair, and each of their hair would represent the Game Boy color. So they just tried to play this edgier style as opposed to what they were used to back in the day. So this is a really cool piece of history right here, and this is again one of my favorites in my collection. So this jacket is by far my favorite Nintendo jacket in my entire collection. So this is the Super Star Fox Weekend jacket. Now you could only win this through a competition that was held over the weekend back in 1993. So between April 30th and May 2nd. So you could go to one of 2,000 locations around the country and compete in this pretty awesome competition that would in fact advertise this Star Fox game for the Super Nintendo. Now of course these competition cartridges were often mailed out from Nintendo of America to KB Toys, Suncoast Videos, and a lot of mall locations to help draw in the crowd. Now there would be thousands and tens of thousands of people at these locations, and you could go ahead and use this special cartridge and compete against one another for the high score. Now depending on if you actually showed up to these events or if you won the high score at those locations, you could win some pretty awesome video game prizes. So you could win pins and pens and pamphlets and t-shirts, and if you had the highest score you could win one of these jackets. So there's not very many of these jackets out there today, and these go for a pretty penny online. So on eBay, the second that I saw this jacket, I had to score it, as it was only a couple $100, and I've seen these things sell for over $800, sometimes even more, depending on the condition and everything else with this jacket. Now those competition carts are also pretty rare, and I've seen those sell for upwards of $1,500, so it would be pretty awesome to find one of those competition carts that were used during this competition and have it on display with this jacket. Now this is a really cool jacket, but it does have this fragile style material to it, which often gets snagged. So I definitely will not be wearing this jacket. So on the front it has this Nintendo logo, and then of course the back we have the Super Star Fox Weekend embroidered logo, and then of course it has some zippers on here, even on the sleeves, and then it has these buttons. So this is definitely a great jacket and very well in style back in the day. So this is just another great piece of history, and I'll have to try and find some more of these items that may have been won at this competition and add it to my collection. So as you can tell, these are among my top 5 favorite vintage video game jackets that I have in my collection. Now, I've acquired these over the years for some pretty awesome prices. Now, I've seen some people pay top dollar for these particular items just to find a whole collection of vintage video game apparel. So these are just so cool and so awesome to have in my video game collection, and they really help tell a story of that time period, and of course all of the campaigns and advertisements that these companies went through to go ahead and compete with one another. So let me know below which one is your favorite. Let me know if you actually have any of these jackets in your collection, as some of these I have not seen before, so I'd really like to know. And of course, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.